All right, Paul Hefty here with 493W. I'm going to talk about legal duties of coaches and athletic personnel, specifically the 14 legal duties. All right, just a quick overview. These are the 14 legal duties. As you can see, planning, supervision, evaluation of injury, safe playing environment, protective equipment, technique instruction, matching and equating, evaluating conditioning, warnings, insurance, disclosure, medical assistance, emergency responses, safety transportation, and selecting coaches. What we'll do is we'll do a workshop here that you'll use with your team management assignment, and then real briefly go over each of the 14 legal duties. So the first one is planning, a duty to plan. And this is why you're actually designing a coaching portfolio, your final assignment. It has everything documented. So from a legal standpoint, you have met your duty to plan. And again, it's a yearly keep it, follow it. You can see then the focus here is prevent or reduce injury. And develop these responsive strategies in these 6 different areas. So again, I want to emphasize this is why we do this in any leadership situation. The key to a good start is to have a well thought out plan and have that documented. All right, so your team management assignment preparation here, we'll do a little agenda design. What you're going to have to do with each of these different meetings is you're going to have to do a detailed description of what you're doing and why. That's your thesis statement, your T. You'll have to cite a reference to that, which obviously can be from the lectures, personal communication then, or from the textbook or other sources. You want to do in-text citation there as your reference. But then your I ends up being a visual illustration where you're going to actually design an outline or an agenda, which can be bullet points in shorthand, but it needs to be thorough what you need to cover. All right, so if we were in class, we would break up into 3 different groups, and each group would kind of design this and then share this. But for this, go ahead and pick your preseason team meeting. Let's do that one and just do a quick outline and design. We'll pause here and then we'll come back and look at those 14 duties, legal duties, and then we'll look at doing that draft one more time. All right, hopefully pause it there and went through that. Communication is the key here. So this is your second workshop. What we're going to do is take the agenda that you just designed, and then we're going to go through these 14 legal duties and just make a note if you covered it or if you need to add that. A big point here for the rest of your portfolio, and this should be for every section, go back to the ones you've already designed, but then also this is a final check with each of the sections you're going to design for your final coaching portfolio. You first want to look at safety, number 1, then look at your legal duties, and you can use these 14 legal duties as your foundation. And then number 3, then look at how you can connect that with your philosophy as a head coach. What most leaders do is they go the opposite order. You think about your philosophy first, then you start to think about some legal or safety issues. So again, your legal duty is the quote, your standard of practice meets your standard of care. So basically what you do needs to be performed on a regular basis, practice, game competitions, everything. All right. So here we go. First one, planning, we talked about. Hopefully you looked at those 6 specific areas and found a way to put that into your planning. Big one is just into your, with the meetings is medical screening is an obvious one there. And then warnings to when you do your team meetings. Make it clear, for example, if it is a contact sport, don't assume everybody knows that. Let's talk about it and then look at those safety procedures that you can use. Number 2 is supervision. Again, just to want to talk about real simple, we do this all the time with ninth grade high school football, is they need to be supervised from the moment they're done with school to the locker room and until everyone is picked up by a parent and or a guardian there. Again, you have a legal duty to do that. Big one, there's number 4 there, prevent foreseeable injuries. So 4 different things you can look at: physically present, prevent foreseeable injuries. Number 2, evaluate injury. Again, the big one here is with your team management, you're going to be required to do some medical screening. And again, then injuries and so forth need to all be handled with physicians and have documentation of that in return to play. So again, pre-assessment and post-assessment using medical professionals. So again, for the course and the portfolio, you're all allowed to have athletic trainers, and you're going to talk about how you're going to use them in the process. Number 4, safe playing environment. Again, we want to make sure that you have a plan of how you're going to deal with weather, deal with conditioning, your fitness part of your plan. And then again, this gets into using either your athletic trainers or strength and conditioning coaches, which you all can have. Protective equipment. If you are using equipment at all, especially with contact sports, you don't want to assume people know what, why, and how, and you want to cover this, okay? Real simple one is any type of helmet gear, and we did the NFHS concussion certification, then we can talk about what is the protocol, what are the rules specific for your program, and hopefully with the state that you did your certification with. Number 6, technique instruction. Real simple. We need to have a plan for teaching, and we need to have it researched and supported, okay, so that you have appropriate, safe technique. And again, you know how to teach that and apply that for the sport that you are coaching. All this is doing your research and keeping current with it. Again, documentation of it. That's why we use TRI, the reference and citing that supports the way you're going to teach. Number 7, matching and equating. This is huge, and you see this all the time when I do consulting, is we need to match the athletes in practice to meet their maturity, their skill level, their age, their size, and their speed. I always give the example with ninth graders. We have such a large difference in maturity levels and then their skill and their size and their speed. So again, it's important to create safe and sound matchups. Evaluating conditioning, number 8. Again, you're going to talk about this in particular with your fitness section training, fitness training. Again, this is where TRI comes in. Use your research and support what and why you're doing. So there's a method to the madness, and you have this documented in the template with it. Number 9, warnings. This is why you're doing these team management meetings. Again, you don't want to assume everybody knows about your sport, the specifics to it, and you don't want to assume everybody knows exactly where there are potential injury situations. So again, you want to talk about that and have full transparency. Number 10, insurance disclosure. Again, just these are things you're going to have cleared, so this is part of the paperwork, so just make this part of your agenda or outline with your meetings. Medical assistance, you want to have a plan for an emergency care. Again, for the course, you're all are allowed to have athletic trainers. So again, use those and just talk about your procedures if an athlete is injured in practice or in a game, how you would do the process of dealing with that, specifically how you would use your athletic trainers. Emergency response. Again, this is that ECP, they call it, or EAP, Emergency Action Plan or Emergency Care Plan. Again, you're going to see in the portfolio, you have to talk about this whole process using your athletic trainers and medical staff. Safe transportation, number 13. Again, this is just as simple as having a plan with your staff of how you do your transportation to athletic events, and then parents involved. Real simple one is now you want to have documentation, so you would actually have a checklist of who is all going on and go through that and check that off so it's documented. And then the same would be when you depart. And then lastly, you would have those on file so that you could show this was covered. Number 14, selecting of coaches. Again, this is actually in your leadership. I learned through personal experience. Probably one of the most important things you do is the hiring and selection of your coaches. And again, it's about having people that are going to follow these duties, believe in them, and then create a safe and sound environment, and hopefully fun one as you go through. So again, don't overlook number 14, selecting coaches. Be involved, have a plan, and then be consistent with it. All right, now, after we've gone through those 14 duties, you want to reflect and review with that initial first draft you made of your team meeting, and again, apply some of those 14 duties into these meeting agendas. Again, you can do the same with your staff meeting and your parent meeting then also. So again, you're going to use these with your team management assignment. Again, you want to have your illustration actually be a visual outline of what all you're going to cover, but the T, you want to talk about what and why you're doing it, and then have cite references to support the reasoning. Thanks.